All right, I think I'm live. Hello. Um, Welcome to another Stories to Motivate Neurodivergent Spoonies live stream. Today I'm going to have my precious Shae with me, who I met. Oh, Shae, maybe look up when we met because it always falls out of my head. Um, Originally, Shae was an Action Navigator student and is now my assistant. And I thought it was about high time you'll get to meet them. So, oh, I'm glad we already have people in the chat. Okay, I'm gonna just bring Shae in. Hello.
Hello. It was June of 2022, so it's been
Wow.
almost two full years. Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yay.
Yeah.
So, we're gonna start off with like the testimonial aspect of this conversation, which is just a weird thing to say. We're just goblins gerblining about. I joked with Shae that if we did a podcast, it would be 2 NBs, 1 brain cell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I already thought that the branding would be 2 goblins, like side by side.
Of course.
Yeah.
So,
I have so much fun editing this video.
oh my god! So, for those who are joining us live and watching the recording in the future, who are you? And what do you do? And that second one you can answer other than be my assistant.
Additionally, yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Hello, I am Shae. I am non-binary, so I go by they, them pronouns. I am, oh gosh. Ha! Talk about the brain cells here. Yeah. But basically, in addition to working with and for Cassie, I also tend to do a large variety of various craft and artistic things that gets me in trouble because I have too many projects. But I got my bachelor's degree in music industry and technology back in 2014. So yeah, that's kind of one of my like little like I want to brag about that kind of things.
And you
so.
should. You should. So think back to that June of 2022. What were the challenges you're experiencing that made you want to work with me?
Oh, wow. At least I know it's dead, but this will be easy. This part will be easy for me to edit out. No, I struggled a lot because I think at that point I was between jobs. Like I just moved. I live in the Bay Area in California, and I just moved from the Peninsula to the East Bay, and I didn't want to outrageously long commute. So I felt a little adrift, I remember at that time, and I was wanting to figure out how to kind of like be more independent and partnerish with my partner. And and as like a side benefit, I didn't realize until I was partway through the course itself about how a lot of my lost buoyancy in the vast nothingness that is ocean of adulthood, I didn't realize that I didn't have my values like figured out in that concrete, not in the concrete fashion that I think neurotypicals think of as concrete, but just in the weird spaghetti noodle art version of what makes sense to me. So, and so that was really interesting. And I also didn't realize, again, these are also just like little fringe benefits, but they're huge. I did not realize how mean I was to myself about a lot of these things. I also have multiple sclerosis. I'm willing to talk about that kind of thing. I refer to it as self-diagnosed ADHD because everybody around me tells me it's definitely ADHD. Even though being AFAB, my psychologists and psychiatrists are like, no, it's just depression and anxiety, and I'm like, it's not though. But I'm actually legitimately, I haven't told you this, Cass, but I'm taking inspiration from your Where Have I Been Mal's video, and I am It's one of those, I'm not going to give up. Like, I need to get some sort of diagnosis. In the meantime, I've talked to our community and I'm like, please help. I need resources. There's too many online. Anyways, that's my waffly answer. I don't know if I answered your question.
You did. Good. So follow-up question. Were you someone that had been watching my YouTube videos for a long time, or did you binge watch and then book a call? And what was it like booking a Zoom call with a YouTuber?
Well, that was okay. So I did the thing where, like, I would occasionally, when we all have our, like, how do you be productive? Like I was just talking about just now, but for ADHD. And then you would come up, so I would watch you, and I loved your stuff. And it wasn't like I watched you like every single time a video came out, I would put you on, but it was always that when it came up, I was like, yeah, let's stop and watch it, kind of thing. And then I binged a little extra leading up to that call. And I'll be honest, you were the very first coach I'd like ever reached out to in my life. And I've since told you you've ruined me for others in the best possible way. But yeah, but
I've also ruined myself because of myself. Because I'm my own standards are high. I'm like, oh no.
I'm just sitting there being like, I would like, as a coach, for them to ask my consent before going into heavy shit that's, triggering for me. And you're very good at doing that. And that's like tip of the iceberg. But what I was really not anticipating and was just how quickly you and I got on that call together. Like there's a reason it is 2 MBs, 1 brain cell, because we were like practically the same like it was so refreshing because it was like we didn't have to mask around. Yeah, exactly. I was there on Nadia's discovery call, and the 3 of us it just felt like friends who hadn't hung out in a while, just getting to know one another again, kind of thing. I described to my partner didn't understand the reference because he was not raised for anybody who knows Anne of Green Gables and the movies and whatnot from that era. The bosom friends, I think, or no, kindred spirits. That was what it was. Mm-hmm. The kindred spirits. That was the feeling that I got at the end of our call, where I was just like, wow, this was, kindred spirits. Yeah. And that's how it felt. And so it was, and then I, furthermore was just, or
yeah, I don't understand. It's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, I was going to start waxing on and going further, and I realized I did answer your question, so I'm going to stop myself from going on tangents.
Yeah, it might be fun in the edited version of this if you throw in some clips from that call where we met. That'd be hilarious.
Oh, we'll see. We'll see. So, I'm going to have hard enough time editing this video because of the Schadenfreude is not the right term, but it's in that neighborhood of watching myself on film. So
you get used to it.
Okay.
To the point where when they throw up that filter on TikTok where it like mirrors your face, and everybody is like really weirded out by that, it doesn't faze you because you know what you look like from that perspective.
You say that, but I immediately, upon getting onto StreamYard, I changed it. So this is my left hand, and I am left-handed because I was like, I need to mirror this. I need to not view myself from the opposite. It was too weird. I couldn't. I am just like those. I struggled.
Okay, so you already mentioned a few things about what the Action Navigator did for you, but like, could you go into depth a little bit more? And anybody who is watching this now or later, I'm going to drop the link to the program in the chat.
I would say anybody who's watching this that has, at the time of this recording, been with us within the last year, I've been doing those discovery calls and with Cass, and a big aspect of it that is genuine when I'm having those discussions with prospective students is that I still am blown away and overcome with how the community aspect of everything. We have a private Discord community, and it is a precious little corner of the internet where I show up and people just get it. In those discovery calls, I'll often talk about like struggling to shower, which is something now and again I still struggle with because I'm finally coming to terms with the fact that this is just it's a cyclical, it's not a permanent fix kind of thing in life. And when it comes to illness and when it comes to neurodivergence and being a spoonie, and but showing up and being able to say, woohoo, I was able to shower and having people who are like, I was there 2 weeks ago, kind of thing is really something that I can't put into words that do it justice, and also just have this intangible level of impact, given that for for my entire life, everyone has been around me has, for all intents and purposes, been able-bodied and neurotypical kind of thing. So being around a bunch of people, the empathy that comes with being in that community is just awe-inspiring. I can't talk, like speechless, like awe-inspiring, frankly. And I get really cheesy when I get real sincere. This is why I joke.
Same.
Yeah. People think it's disingenuous, and I'm like, no, that's the neurodivergence. I actually am incredibly sincere, which is why I have to make jokes. Okay.
What's your relationship to productivity now after having taken the course and been a part of this community for as long as you have?
Yeah. I think everybody is going to approach it differently, which is the really lovely thing about all of us having different brains. And I was, hang on, hold on. The brain cell left.
It's okay. Take all the time you need.
I appreciate it. I had something really profound right at the tip of my tongue.
It'll come back.
Yeah. Can you repeat the question again? I am so sorry.
Oh no. Where'd my brain cell go? What's your relationship to productivity now?
Oh, yes. Thank you. A large struggle I've had with and still to this day actually have when it comes to traditional therapy. I will always forever be a champion of it. Everyone should go to therapy. My partner's finally going to therapy and just chef's kiss. So great. But my biggest thing whenever I show up is I need tools. I don't just need the tools. I also need to know how to access those tools when I'm in that moment. And I've noticed throughout the last 2 years, that's been the largest chink in my productivity, is when I hit a stopping point, how do I get going again, kind of thing. And I'm still not great at it, but just a couple weeks ago or last week or something, I was sitting there with I have 500 things I need to do. I'm so overwhelmed. And so I literally I made a giant list, and it was stuff that I already had done trials where I'm like, how long does this take? Feasibly, this is 3 days worth of work that I want to do in an afternoon, kind of thing. That's not great productivity wise, because you just end up as a deer in a headlight. But then I did that, and I was able to then do the the energy levels, which ones take up. Well, first I was able to then be does this have to get done right now? It's no, cool, we're doing it later, kind of thing. But that was the biggest thing, was realizing these tools that you give us in the course, as well as with the fact that at the same time, you're constantly iterating and impacting on being kind to yourself throughout that whole process. So often I'll get frustrated, and then I shut down. And I think that's true for a lot of a lot of people who struggle with productivity. And do I still shut down a doom scroll from time to time? Yes, but
Same.
it's, yeah. But it was one of those things where it's like, but now that tool, like, or that like mixture of tools or however, because I think a lot of it is we kind of end up Frankensteining. It's our build your own system. It's like, that's now becoming a part of my system, even though it's like partial tools from a couple of different things out of the toolbox. I like to use duct tape and screws to get everything where it should go. Yeah.
Okay. Chewed gum.
But yeah, that was the biggest thing, was just having that ability to take a pause and slow down, and instead of berate myself for being all of the bad things, being able to be like, no, let's just take a look at it. And I wasn't telling myself I had to do any of them. It was just, can we whittle it down to something I can do in 4 hours instead of 3 days kind of thing. So yeah, I'd say that's how this course has impacted.
Awesome. Oh, interesting. The next question in the list of questions is, what do you see the program doing for you as you stick with it long term? But like that, you're in a very unique situation in that you ended up on the back end of the course. So we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
Which
is a very different position than anybody else.
Yeah. Were there any other results you weren't expecting that pleasantly surprised you? So you've already mentioned
a couple of them,
and the kindness to yourself, but were there any others?
Community, the being kind to myself. I did not realize that I circle on the same issues over and over and over again, like even with the course, but it's almost now that like I'm getting faster at realizing it, which, you know, that's to me, it's like your course, the Action Navigator doesn't fix anything overnight, and it's not supposed to. As much as my ADHD brain would love it to be an instantaneous fix, it's not. But that's actually good, because in the long run, it's more helpful that way. But I was talking about, can wax on forever about TV shows and like random things, but the minute I'm trying to be like, can you talk about something that matters? It's not that it's awkward, because it's just with you. It's just that, like, I think the awkward part is that you're used to me having my record scratches, but because we're live, I'm like super conscious of it.
It's okay. It's important because like, imagine the person who comes across this, who experiences their disability in a similar way that you do, and they're seeing themselves in you. And like, you are performing representation right now.
God.
Like, it's really important. And so like, editing shouldn't be hard when you go to do the editing.
I guess not. Yeah, actually, you're right. I don't have to edit these moments like out. If anything, that's doing a disservice. But thank you for that, because I do remember what I was going to say. And yes, Nadia, you're absolutely right. It's rare in any form of social media these days to show these moments. But I didn't realize how cyclical my issues with productivity are. And then I remember having trouble recently and I am so sorry, I can't be specific, because I didn't do any homework before this live.
Okay, you're not supposed to.
Exactly. So you get to just live with my lovely little slight generalizations, but it did actually happen. Was I was having an issue with something, and one of the really cool things on the student portal is Cass records all of the workshopping calls, and they're searchable. And so I searched a phrase, and then my meeting with Cass showed up, because I had literally said the thing that I had put into the search bar, and I was just like, damn it. Like, it was just when I was like, oh God. Because I didn't realize, like, that was one of those moments where it was kind of gentle, but like it would, like, it was stop, do not pass go, do not collect $200. Like, you need to like see that this is cyclical for you. And again, a thing I was not expecting from this course is I didn't see that as a negative. I'm learning how to see productivity as in and of itself is a cycle. That, you know, that's how it makes sense for my brain. But yeah, so that was the thing. That was the thing, because those freaking that search bar, I was so called out. Like, that was I needed a preemptive, this is just Doozy wording just before I press go. Like, that's what that was.
Yeah, I'm still so grateful that part of my building this business journey brought me to that service. It's called Searchy.io. And that's where my student portal is hosted. It's also where the new Muse gallery is posted. So instead of having a Patreon, I now have another portal in Searchy for those who want to offer like more Patreon style support, like anywhere from $5 to like I think $50. We did a whole sliding scale. It doesn't matter what tier you choose, you still get the same stuff, and it's all of my YouTube videos, and so they're now searchable. So if you're like, I know Cass talked about this at some point, but do I remember which video?
Had that happen.
So you search for it. And it also has a chatbot trained on all of my videos. So if instead of like doing the dumpster diving to find which video of mine you need, you just talk to the bot that is my YouTube personality, and it can happen. It's really cool, and I'm really glad I got in when it was first being developed and can use it for the Action Navigator course, because it's really powerful to have that search functionality. And then that chatbot is trained on the entire program as well, not just my YouTube videos.
But critically, not on the workshopping videos.
Yeah. I don't train any of the AI chatbot data on other people's work. For privacy reasons, number one, and two, it would get real confused real fast.
Ooh, yeah, that's definitely like we're gonna have a 404 over here if we're not careful.
Yeah. I remember another thing. So for those who are unfamiliar with my program, it's a lifetime access course. So you join, you have access to it for as long as I'm running this program, which at my current plan is until I retire. Knock on wood. But it's first and foremost about mastering the moment. So those tools you need in the moment to get from point A to point B, so you can spend your precious time and energy the way you need to. And then it builds to the last two modules, which are about how to translate everything you've learned into making larger decisions about your life. And usually what I've found is so many other either productivity programs or coaching programs, they do it in reverse. It has that whole like find your passion, and that's the whole course. And then at the end, they're like, just do it, like Nike. They don't actually teach you how to. I'm like, that's the part I need help with. The doing the thing. And it's I do it in that opposite order because I needed help to shower, to brush my teeth. At the time, I had finally come to terms with the fact that I was disabled, so I couldn't job hunt. But if I were in a position where I needed to job hunt, it would help me do that. And once you've developed this compassion with yourself and this self-trust that you have more control over how you spend your precious time and energy, like you have agency, it's after you develop those skills and have that agency that you're able to like be like, oh, what are the things I'm interested in? Are those things I want to start spending my precious time and energy on? And so often when people get to those last two modules, I'm like, this stuff is probably not going to make sense right now. It's going to make sense later. So
and was that like, yeah, if you're like me, however, I don't have that kind of patience. So I think I remember you telling me too during the discovery call, you're like, it's good to go like one module at a time kind of thing. And I was like, cool, gotcha. And then I binged watched all of it over the course of a single weekend, because my brain works where I don't need help finding what the passion is, but I do need to at least know where the edges of the forest lie, so that I know, what to look for. Yes, exactly. And then I've been rewatching, and then I think I've already, like, I'm on my like third or fourth rewatch of the course, because yeah, you don't realize this. You learn things that you were not, as much as you're like, I paid attention, I took notes. It's like, no, rewatch them again, like at least once a year, and you will see, one, because of how much you've grown, you can focus on different things. And it's wild. That was,
and I remember those last two modules hit different on either your second or third rewatch. Do you want to talk about that?
It was my second rewatch. I think I can't remember anymore, because that was, again, like a year ago when I had that revelation. But yeah, I remember feeling like gut punched in a way with those last two modules. And part of it is because in the neurotypical sphere, there's a large tendency towards, when you're trying to look at that larger picture, to make it incredibly concrete, like down to the amount of subscribers you want to hit, kind of thing. And there are people, even neurodivergent people, where that is exactly what they need. But mine needed to be more flexible. And I am now like in this moment, I am having yet another epiphany about this, was that a big part of that is because of my disability. And because of the unpredictability of my multiple sclerosis, I can't have the most concrete deadlines that exist, because I can't anticipate, like, full disclosure, Cass and I were supposed to have a meeting yesterday, and I was supposed to do the weekly reset, and I had a thing called an MS hug, which sounds a lot nicer than it actually is.
Accurate.
Yeah. And I was after it ended, I was just in this, I call it a level 6 out of 10 pain, where it's very much, you can't ignore it, but you can't quite do anything. Like, it's that weird, like, it's not like outright. Anyways, that's besides the point. But the main point is just that, aside from my gesticulation, is that I like to, I needed something that allowed me to be able to pivot more. And that also was able to encompass all of my like different values, because I think that was the epiphany I had, was that a lot of the normal productivity advice, like typical productivity advice out there, is very focused on finding the one thing and the one passion. And if you are someone who, like me, has 10 things going on at any one given time, it's really hard. Like, that's gut-wrenching in its own right. And so, but I was able to look at how you explained, your larger set of values, and that North Star or True North, I can't remember.
I kind of like True North Star, but it's like differentiating that from your goals.
Yeah, that was the huge
those are different things.
Yeah, and that was the part that I hadn't understood in my first go around. And so being able to actually finally pinpoint, like, that true north is those flexible and amorphous values that don't need to be concrete. And yes, I'm sure for some people, like, that's super obvious to them, which is the awesome thing about having different brains. But it wasn't obvious to me that those were separate things. And because so often, the goal itself is the only thing we talk about. It is the only thing that's talked about in productivity spheres. It's not the, like, how do you want to sit in your, in your life day to day. So, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
All right.
I talk a lot.
This is why we get along.
Yes.
So before we dive into you now being my assistant, what would you tell someone who is watching this and considering scheduling a free call to figure out if the Action Navigator is right for them?
Well, first of all, you'll get to hang out with me for half an hour, which is really cool and really fun, and I love meeting new people. But but the other aspect of it is that it's a very no pressure situation. It is the point of the call is not to trick you into paying money and trick you into joining this community. It really is like the equivalent of a vibe check, where if you've watched other videos that Cass has done or are even convinced just in how we are interacting together, like frankly, this is how we interact together. This is how, at least me, certainly, I'll interact with several members in our community in the same way, because it is this, I don't want to call it, and we keep calling it extended found family, but it has like a Lost Boy, like Peter Pan vibe to me for some reason. But that also just might be my fixation on it.
Yeah.
But like this ragtag, we're just this ragtag of kids just learning stuff and just being cool.
I just want to know, like, is the program something that could help you, first of all?
Yeah, exactly.
And if it's not, like, we'll guide you in a different direction so you can get the help you need and deserve.
And if you're not sure, still come on, still make a call, because sometimes just talking about stuff around it, or me talking about the course and the community at large, like it can help dislodge something that you didn't realize that maybe you're needing. But it's also like everything's at your pace. Like it's a 30-minute call, but if it takes us 45 minutes, it takes us 45 minutes. Like that's been, and if it's a 10-minute call, it's a 10-minute call. Like that's no big deal. But I think that's about kind of like the call itself. But I do feel that the course is not, the course and the community is not a personal assistant. Like that's the one thing that I always want to like kind of cut off at the head. It's very much this, like, we are working side by side together on these, where we are in this journey, and we're just being there together. Whereas it's not a matter of us, you know, the community or Cass telling you what to do. It's because I also think that robs people of their independence and autonomy in the same way that neurotypical people and and able-bodied people already do to us. So we don't need to repeat that. So yeah, but it's also like there's no shame in asking for help. And I think that's something that stops a lot of people from even calling or trying to join. It's they're oftentimes it's shame for asking for help. It's shame for not having enough money. Like and that's not fair, because it's just, this is gotta love late stage capitalism. Anyways.
Like, and for those who don't know, I offer a sliding scale. And like, seriously, I've had someone join for $2. It's more important to me that everyone gets the help they deserve, because I am in a place where I am financially cared for. And while I would like to eventually grow this business to the point where I am financially independent, I'm okay with that taking a while. I would rather people get the help they need, because I was that person who had no money, no job, and I desperately needed help, and nothing like this existed. And so I want to be that for people.
And also, though, endless love to those people, as well as endless love to the people that did spend either of the 3 tiers that you had leading up to the sliding scale, and even since we introduced the sliding scale. Because it's, in a lot of ways, I don't know, because I think it was like 6 months after I started working for you that the sliding scale was introduced.
Yeah.
But I had a sneaking suspicion that without the students that joined prior to that, like they helped make it possible, which is really cool.
Yeah. Basically, like I had a version of a sliding scale, but I hadn't gone far enough. I wasn't making it as inclusive as possible. And I got to a point where I was like, F it. I'm not gatekeeping this information anymore.
I hope I encouraged this behavior because yes.
yes. I want to be radical in the work that I do because that's needed. Sure. And this brings up, there's been a really, it kind of happened for 72 hours, then it died away. But there was this conversation on TikTok about neurodivergent coaching. And first and foremost, I consider myself a productivity expert for chronic illness and neurodivergence. But like life coaching is then a sub-tier under that. And one of the arguments that was made is that you shouldn't have to pay to be in this community, which like I agree. But it doesn't, those who are creating safe spaces should also be compensated for their labor. And like to create a safe space and actually have boundaries around it so it continues to be safe. Like that takes work. And so I kind of see our community almost like a gated community. So like that way it just makes it easier to feel safe inside of it. Whereas like I've never personally felt emotionally safe participating like on autistic TikTok, for example, because it just seems real scary and dysregulating.
There's also just the general issue of, especially if you are self-diagnosed. I'm saying self-diagnosed instead of undiagnosed on purpose, by the way, because I think most of us who are spoonies understand the gravity of how much of a privilege it is to get a diagnosis. And we're also not quick to put on the jacket of something that they don't feel very much aligns with who they are. So, and how they interact with the world. So
yeah.
Just gonna put that out there ahead of time. But
all right. That was it needed to be said, but it was
to be said.
Talking about. The amount of black and white thinking around that whole discourse was really bothering me. I'm like, this industry is not like the police. Like all cops are bastards. Yes, but this is not the same.
Well, the reason it's not the same is because life coaches aren't unionized the way the cops are unionized. Like it's like you're not a collective. This isn't something where there is no barrel for apples. You are individual apple trees in far disparate orchards. I am just gonna take that analogy far.
And are a lot of coaches absolutely awful? Yes. And I'll bring back to the point that I ruined you for all coaches.
You really did. You really did. You're
welcome.
Yeah.
All right. So as y'all could probably tell, Shae and I get along really well. So pretty quickly, because like it's hard to run this business on my own. I was seeking help. And I've had a number of assistants or video editors over the course of this work. But they all had to like move on for varying reasons that like I totally understand. So I was still seeking someone. And like Shae seemed like the perfect answer. So the long game was to have Shae take over the free discovery calls so I could get, because that's a lot of time. Like I love meeting people, but I was burning myself out and I was unable to continue writing YouTube scripts or to continue working on version 2 of the Action Navigator. And I'm just like, I need time back. So we basically spent the entirety of 2023 with you shadowing me on those calls. And then in the last few months, I was there, but you were running them. And now you are 100% running them. And it is so weird for me when that happens. I'm like, wow, Shae's on a call. I'm not. This is weird. And like waking up and my emails are like, you made money. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I was
Like,
asleep.
oh, hey, I'll like message you and just be like, hey, you need to add this person, please. Like, once because that's the other thing too, is it's always like, I really hope that people, hopefully you can tell from this video, if nothing else, we are very similar. So you are getting a very similar energy on the discovery calls with me that you would have gotten with Cass, although mine are a little, like a hair bit more chaotic. just a little bit, just because because
but you still do everything that needs to be done.
I'm more chaos. I love you.
And I think that the next thing that, because we've now had people join who only met you and they have yet to meet me. So I think just this past week, I won't share their name for privacy reasons, but someone got to talk to me for the first time on a workshopping call, and I hadn't met them like in person yet, and it was like so cool and special. And I think there's another person who you welcomed into the program, and they were feeling a little unsure, and I'm like, talk to me on a workshopping call, come talk to me. Come talk to me. Come talk to me. So I want to meet all of you.
Yay. Oh, I love that.
I don't I want to make sure that even though you're the one that's in charge of those calls, that people don't feel like they're one step removed from me once they're in the program.
That backpedaling briefly, that was the thing I was not expecting from the discovery call with you, was that I was meeting you. Like, I knew, like, intellectually that was what was going to happen, but there is a little bit of that, like, parasocial kind of element to things, where it's like, does this human being live up to what I expect based off of the videos? And it was both a yes and a no, because you are a whole human being that is not just the persona that you, like, who you are on your videos is an aspect of you. It is not the entirety of you. And that was something that I love to learn. And it was so much fun. So anyway.
just so we're clear, you like the rest of the iceberg, right?
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's a yes.
We went to the San Francisco
aquarium
together. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, to this day, Shae is the only person in this community that I've had the honor of actually getting to see in person. And that's real cool. I want to see more in person at some juncture, because
absolutely,
it'll
be a little interesting, so cool. Because I feel like it's like, I don't know what the numbers are, but I feel like at least a third of the students are based outside of the US, kind of thing. Probably closer to like half, but anyways. That's
one day I want my dance travels to take me all over the world, and then I can just, when I'm in a city, be like, I'm in this city. Anybody close?
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So anyways, thank you for, see, this is what I mean by chaos. I totally just like, let's just go back like 20 minutes in this call.
Fine. Fine. So Shae has not only taken over those discovery calls from me, but they have also taken over the weekly reset calls inside the program. And that's just a weekly half-hour, 45-minute Zoom call that anybody in the program can attend, where it's a guided evaluate your last week and prepare for the next week. And then Shae is also now doing my video edits. And we're having a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's pretty fun. I've had some, if you've seen some of the recent videos, including the Where Have I Been one, I think, or whichever one that has the Sharky in the background, I had fun with that one.
And if you liked seeing some outtakes again, that's all Shae's doing, making that happen.
I only do it, to be fair, I think the last one I did, I didn't have any outtakes.
I don't think there were any good ones. No. My outtakes get repetitive after a while. I do the same, like, when I tongue tie myself.
No, I still think just the first one I did for you was like peak. It was so good. But yeah, so Casepoint, I thoroughly enjoy working for Cass, and this has just been a dream of a job I didn't think I'd ever have. And it was especially the biggest thing I've had to, I'm just going to go, I don't even know if this is a question.
Go for it.
The biggest thing I've had to get used to is that it's okay to be sick. That it's, I was having a lot of issues last year with my MS and with my, where my brain was and my ability to do things. And in any other field, I probably would have been fired. But Cass gets it. And I was trying to communicate with you when things were really not doing well. So I think that also says something. But but that was something that took a really long time. Like, again, like I said, even yesterday I sent a message. I was like, can I please cancel the reset? I like can't even sit upright right now.
Just like,
I was in so much pain.
Of course.
Yeah. You're just like, you don't have to ask. And I'm like, cool. I'll just give you a heads up next time. Like, because again, as much as I'm still, learning to be emotionally and mentally okay with being disabled. And so it's the fact of being like, it's not an if, it's a when it happens the next time. That's been a little hard, but it's also really nice knowing that, like, because you get it, it's a lot easier to deal with it in grace. So, or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyways, that was just something I wanted to mention because it came up in memory.
And that brings up another thing that happens a lot because right, I'm having a big thinky thought and I have to pick which cloud I want to talk about first. So
potential doozy warning right now.
Maybe, yeah.
Maybe.
Because the way I design the messaging around my program is really front loading that productivity piece.
Yeah.
And the reason I do that is because I feel like it helps get me in front of more eyes who could benefit from my work. Whereas if I were focusing on what I think is the more important thing of what I do is transforming how you talk to and treat yourself. I feel like that's what I do. But like, because of hustle culture and our ableist society, late stage capitalism, all of that, to get to a point where that's your goal is to learn how to talk to yourself more. You've already been through the ringer 1,000 times and you've already learned so much. And I'm like, if I can just change my messaging and get people the help that they need and deserve faster, that's what I'm doing. So that being said, what happens a lot is someone, particularly those with chronic illnesses on top of neurodivergence or just chronic illnesses, they'll come into my program hoping for that productivity. But what they'll come to learn is really understanding that they are disabled.
Oh, Jesus. Sorry.
You're good.
God damn it. Sorry. My partner's calling. I messaged him saying we were doing a thing. He's not supposed to call me. And he said, copy that. What the hell? Sorry, everybody.
Silly partners.
I had told him that I was gonna be busy. He calls me when he drives home from work. It's very sweet.
Aw,
but it's ill-timed right now. So.
You could send him one of those glaring memes where it's like,
I'm gonna just side eye with a little kiss emoji so he knows I'm not actually mad at him. Anyways, so sorry, what were you saying?
So basically, people will come into the program and start really coming to terms with the fact that they're disabled. And I know that was also at least in some part of your journey. So could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah. That was a big part of my journey. I think I've definitely dipped into it quite a bit throughout this whole thing, but it's one of those things where so often my partner, we've been together almost 11 years now, and when I'm getting really down on myself, he'll just be like, stop beating up my best friend, is something he says. And he hasn't had to say that in a really long time, which is something I didn't expect.
Oh no, that could make me cry if I think about it too hard. Yeah.
But yeah, he was, it just, am I still mean to myself mentally? Yes. Do I still do things that maybe aren't the best for me? Also, yes. But the difference is now, instead of getting mad and doubling down on the self-sabotage, Jesus, my phone is making so much noise. Instead of doubling down, there is, I'm allowed to stop for a few minutes. And that was something I don't think I had realized was okay because of that atypical hustle culture where, and because I'm disabled, like I can't do as much around the house, which really it still bothers me to a point because, we're raised with such a rhetoric that in romantic relationships, that the healthy ones are the ones where it is very equal, not even equitable, but straight, like usually it's, I cook, you clean, or whatever, like,
right.
And we know the reality of that's not true, but the thought is still there. Like the impression of that's how it should be is still there. So I think in a way, one of the favorite things that I've learned throughout this whole process is you get to make up the rules. Nobody else. Like your mom doesn't get to make up the rules. Your partner doesn't make up your rules. Your boss doesn't make up the rules, because we all have different things that are not where we want them to be, in the kind way of saying it. Like we all have things that we struggle with, and one person's struggle, there's no comparing them. And that's why you get to make up the rules. And that's a lot of autonomy that we're not usually given.
Yeah. And that's to just piggyback off of that. That's the phrase I wanted. Because
I got your legs placed.
We've been speaking about the program in a couple of ways, like saying, like, I'm not going to tell anyone what to do. But then the question might be like, well, then what's the point of the program? So the entire program is like a combination of a whole bunch of tools and a whole bunch of like ways to reflect and make decisions for yourself. So it's kind of the manual for adulting we need. That's sometimes how I look at it.
I would almost say it's the paper and the pen for how to adult, because you're giving us the tools to literally write our own manual.
I like it.
Like you have some sample pages to see if they fit, like that kind of thing. Like, CAS never takes away your autonomy in any of this, which is huge. But a thing that I think that workbooks can't really do, that regular books can't really do, that CAS does really well, is when you bring a problem that in theory, that if you just sat down, you could probably figure out what you're supposed to do, kind of thing. You show up to a workshopping call, and then CAS will ask you questions. And depending upon like the direction on where that's headed, it's like, that's why I said Doozy morning earlier, is that sometimes CAS will ask you a question that you didn't realize was the actual motivator behind that question. Or we'll figure out, like, the two of you will work and maybe you both will come to the same conclusion of what you should do or what you want to try. But the difference is sometimes most often it's just more broken down in smaller chunks that make it easier to try to accomplish.
Mm-hmm.
And therefore also oftentimes it's like tweaked ever so slightly because of your particular circumstances and because Cass is a productivity expert. But it's something that books can't do, and it's something that just filling out a questionnaire can't do, because there is no book that perfectly reflects your situation, and your life experiences and obligations. So
yeah,
that's a big thing that I'm like, no, that's why you want to do it, is even if you think you're super smart, which like you can figure it out on your own. It's like, it's the same thing like when I bought my cane. This course is an accommodation, because when I got my cane, I suddenly realized how much I was swaying back and forth when I was standing because my balance wasn't great, and it's still not, but now I have the cane for when I know, hey, I'm gonna have to stand in line at the pharmacy for like 20 minutes. I better have my cane with me, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why wouldn't I bring one? It's because it makes it just that much easier. And that's a lot of how I feel about the course and the community at large. It's very much it's an accommodation, both like mentally and emotionally. Maybe not physically because it's all virtual, but like the emotional gas tank and the cognitive gas tank get to have just a little extra padding, kind of thing. So, in my opinion, but I'm incredibly biased because it's just. See, I got so serious and sincere. It's like joke, run away. No, we're good.
Another one of the metaphors I use is like, because therapy is there to help you rebuild the foundation of your house, right? But that doesn't mean you're not living in the house during said remodels. So it's like, how does one live in the house during said remodels? That's what I do. So we have that. I have that similar, like, ask questions, help you uncover what you already know and understand, and then guide you such that you can make empowered, proactive decisions for yourself, with an emphasis on taking action, or when deciding to not take action, if you need to rest, for example. Whereas with therapy, you're dealing with such deep stuff that doesn't help you brush your teeth necessarily, for example.
But a lot of therapy isn't as actionable either. A lot of it is inner work. It's a lot of cognitive and emotional work to tear out the old foundation, and re-pour that concrete. I'm just going to drive all of your analogies and metaphors into the ground. It's great. Just like the posts at the corners of the foundation. No.
I still need that shirt that says metaphor mixologist for myself.
Cool, I want one. So bad.
So good. That's the vibe.
It is. But yes, it's me just adding. I'm just adding flair and joy to what you just said.
Well, I think I've asked all the questions I want to ask. Was there a question you wanted me to ask that I didn't?
I don't think so, because I just said things as they came up in my mind, whether or not you asked me a question. So I'm sure there was one, but then I already answered it. So
perfect. Are there any questions from anyone watching live? You can feel free to drop it in the chat, and I'm more than happy to answer them.
Maria is hilarious.
No, Maria. I'll put it up so people can see what you're laughing at.
I'll refrain. I've already almost made Cass cry today.
That is true.
Yeah. It's caught on tape.
Oh my God. But yeah, so if people want to learn more about the program, you can just go to my website, accountabilitymuse.com, and click on the Action Navigator part of the menu. How does one describe a website? I don't know. I will also drop it in the chat again. Yeah, the discovery calls are absolutely free, and you're under no obligation to join the program. If you join a discovery call, it really is just about getting to know you, seeing if this program is something that would genuinely help you, and if so, getting you in at whatever point on the sliding scale you need to. And like, seriously, I've had someone join for $2. That is okay with me. And if for any reason you're also interested in the Muse Gallery, which is what we're calling my version of a Patreon, which is using that Searchy Doio service, you can find that at the link that I just dropped in the chat. It's a bit.ly link for that one. Yeah. Really? No questions? Not even silly ones? Like, how do I... What's something that I make really well? What's my...
I don't know.
Creamy garlic
We talk about
recipe. That one's good.
That one sounds really good. We talk about so many different things all the time, so it's just kind of one of those like, I don't have any like backup question.
Okay. So I have 2 cats. I think both of them have been in my videos at some point or other. The calico is named Kayla, which is technically short for Michaela, but we don't use either of those names. And then the tuxedo cat is obviously named Oreo, but again, we don't call him that. Kayla is a girl, Oreo is a boy, at least anatomically speaking. Although that now sounds transphobic to say, Kayla is AFAB, Oreo is AMAB. There we go. Who knows what their gender identities are? She seems like a princess. He seems like a puppy, if those are genders. Kayla goes by Fizz, or more specifically, Fizz, because we're squeaking at her. We also call her Wiglet or Nugget. And my partner now calls her Nouget because he knows how much it annoys me to turn Nugget into Nouget. And then Oreo, we call him Goop Goop, Goober, Booger, Silly Boy. Yeah, it's just all pet names. That
your partner and my partner are eerily similar.
And I love how your partner like thought I was a grifter for the longest time.
Yeah. That was the funny thing, you guys, when after I had, joined Action Navigator as a student, and then Cass approached me about working with her, Sam was just like, my partner's name is Sam, and he was just like, get a contract, like this could be like he was so like emphatically.
I know. And then you came to me and you were like, contract, apparently. And I'm like,
apparently. Yeah, he was livid at the idea of it being something that was just a spoken agreement, which
is fair. I agree with that. He was filling in the brain cell for us.
Yeah, exactly. And now he doesn't remember doing that. So because I talk about you so much, kind of thing, like, and what I do and everything, and so he already knows that you're like and especially I think since our hangout in San Francisco, I think the fact that I got to meet you in person really helped assuage any of his concerns.
Gotcha.
So, but that was like a year in or something, so it was just like
it was just really entertaining to me.
Gosh.
Like, however long it takes. I'm happy to be the gum on your shoe until you realize that's all I am.
You're not gum on shoe. How dare you?
I'm sentient.
You are. If you are gum, you are the fun zebra gum that back when it had the little self-tattoo thing on the wrapper where you'd stick it on your tongue.
Wow, you just put me in the Wayback Machine. Whoa.
Oh yeah. my first ever theft as a child was a pack of zebra gum from the local drugstore. I opened it to have one, and my dad immediately came in because I was acting shifty, and I spilled every piece of the zebra gum like all over, and I tried to like cover it up. So, anyways, we had to go. He like made me take it back regardless, and it was just so. Like, and I'm sure that gum just got thrown in the trash, but it was still just like, did I do it again? No. No, just
all it takes.
I realized a life of crime was not in the dice for me in that.
Yeah. I have a similar memory. Mine was more traumatic than yours, unfortunately. But I'm working through it. Yeah. Theft. Illegal shenanigans not in the cards for me.
Yeah, I feel like something is. I don't know if maybe it's just like I feel like every kid tries to do something shifty when they are especially little.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
It's that age of like testing the boundaries.
Yeah.
That's all they're doing.
And my dad said no when I wanted zebra gum. And so I said, well, fine, I will take matters into my own hands. And that was a mistake. But he was, no. I'm God. I put my parents through so much. It's really funny. It's just did I ever tell you when I was okay, this is blooper time, everybody. Thank you for being here with us because did I ever tell you the story about when I was like 7 and I took our golden retriever for a walk? My dad was working graveyard at Kinko's, and so he was home while my mom was at work. It was like summertime. But he was asleep, obviously, because he worked graveyard. And so I had these pink platform foam sandals, like with like big foam flowers on the top of them, kind of thing. And I took Pooh Bear, was the name of our golden retriever, and I took her for a walk, and then we kept going.
Oh no!
And we kept going, and then I ended up 2 towns over. And the only reason I turned back was because I had gone down a street where a bunch of dogs were barking, so I got like scared. So I go to the local library because it's like at the bottom of the hill. Like I go back to the 2 towns back over kind of thing. And I find my library, and I'm literally, I think I'm like 7 or 8. I am little. And I tie up Pooh Bear outside because dogs are not allowed inside the building. And because I was very, again, since my feeding days were over, I had to follow the rules. So the dog had to stay outside. And I tried to call up to my parents' house because I was too tired to walk up the hill to go home. I was like a mile away from home, but I was too tired to walk uphill because I had gone, 2 cities and back, 2 towns and back. And and it was a busy signal. And I'll find out later that was because my mom was on the phone with the police. And so that I was like, cool, I'm just going to like sit outside and like with Pooh Bear and kind of just like regain my stamina so that I can trek up that hill. And the way this courtyard at this library was set up was it had like a little, like there would have been a fountain there, but it was just like shrubbery. And so then there were like octagonal, there were like little seated benches all around with gaps in between that with like hedges. And I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, through every side of the opening to this octagonal, like, cops just came, and they just surrounded me. And I was super, like respectful distance, but they were all of a sudden, it was just these incredibly tall, and I was just like, what? And then my mom, like, tore through them and was so upset with me. But yeah, I decided to go for a walk. That's what I mean is, like, I put my parents through some stuff when I was little. So I don't know if I'll keep that in the edit, but that could maybe just be a little inside thing between those of us here that are watching. But yeah.
I have a different story where like after my parents were divorced, one parent called on the cops because I wasn't where I was supposed to be for a handoff. And
Yeah.
Stressful.
Yeah.
In case it wasn't clear earlier.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
Yep.
But I think we mentioned it even earlier in the
We did.
video,
I even said the B word. We'll see how YouTube likes that.
Well, we can figure it out. It's fine. But yeah, no. My dad was left at a gas station when he was 2 because he's the middle child of 5. So, well, that meant that there would have been only 3 kids, but
it's a
like
Kevin McAllister situation right there.
Yeah, it was. It was a Home Alone kind of situation. And it took 2 hours before my grandparents realized he was not in the car. I'm mild in the shenanigans compared to my dad. I have so many stories that just chef's kiss. I love the stories he tells. Like, he was in the fraternity down at Santa Barbara that got couch burning outlawed. Like, he is just shenanigans. So I think that's where my chaos comes from. I think it comes from that side of the family.
That reminds me. Okay, one more anecdote, and then we'll call it a day. So for my first 2 terms of college was at University of Oregon in Eugene, Oregon. And I forget the name of my dorm, but I was in a dorm, and I had a small TV with DVD player, like things like a 13-incher, right? Mm-hmm. This was 2004. Elder millennial here. But I just had a channel on, just like have noise in the background. And I look over and I had to do a double take because I'm like, that's my dorm room on my TV, but mirrored. So it was one of the other units. And I was like, what is going on here? And quickly I found out it was the movie Animal House. And that's how I learned Animal House was filmed at the University of Oregon.
Oh, that's
my own dorm room. And it was because that was filmed in the 70s, right? So it was 30 years. Yeah. But like nothing had changed about my dorm.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised, frankly. My sister went to UCLA. And so yeah, every time there's like a college campus in a movie, like 9 times out of the 10, it's, even if they say it's Harvard, it's UCLA because it's closer,
right.
Cheaper to film.
Right. Yeah,
that's fantastic though. I love that.
It was really alarming. It was one of those, like, am I being roasted? Am I being watched?
Am I hallucinating? What's happening here? Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. It was wonderful setting this time for you, Shae. I'm so glad everybody gets to meet you now. And I'll be, once we have the recording ready, I'll be linking this video in the emails that go out when people schedule their discovery call. So it's really easy for them to meet you and know what it's like to talk to you before they hop on a Zoom call to help reduce anxiety. Because I don't want people to feel anxious. So yeah, and if anybody has any questions after the fact, feel free to email me, because I don't think YouTube tells me about comments on these live streams after the live is over, because I don't think we've ever seen any. We should go back and look.
We should.
But I just dropped my business email in the chat.
We have to, enable.
Yeah. Oh, that's the other thing Shae does. Shae goes through YouTube comments with me because, as a lot of you know, YouTube comments on someone who is chronically ill and neurodivergent can be really violent and hateful and mean. And I'm not allowed to look at them by myself.
No. And so then we speak instead. One of us will have a really, really bad accent or voice to make the mean comment silly.
Yeah.
And then, block that person because we don't like their energy. So.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, we have some work to do, so I will send you a Zoom link. But yeah, thank you all for joining. Yeah. I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Bye.